I want to say something. If you don't hear anything else I say today, I want you to hear this, okay? And I'm going to say it from over here, just to make sure you hear it. My name is Mark Whitney, and I hate authority, okay? I just want to make that clear, because you can have a passion for liberty all day long, but if you don't also say, I hate authority, I'm wondering whether your passion for liberty might be an inch deep or a mile wide. Now, I want to unify the room and talk some shit about Mitch McConnell. Do you mind if I do that? Is that okay? Can we do that? First of all, give her a big round of applause to all your candidates for putting their body on the mind of people. And, you know, I was in the room and I heard James come up here and say how he goes out and saves lives for no money doing the volunteer fire department, and how he's not putting his life on the line at the state legislature as a libertarian. Okay, dude, you are in so much danger as a libertarian in the State House. Forget about it. It's way more dangerous than fighting fires. And this dude here in the cap, just stand up, will you? We were talking for a minute. Tell them what office you're running for.
State House rep.
Okay, so we were talking, and he was telling me, I'm running for State House rep. And his body language is telling me that he is out of his comfort zone doing this, and I want to give him a big round of applause. And I said to him, listen, dude, the only difference between you and me is I have humiliated myself in audiences, or in front of audiences all across America. So, you know, if I humiliate myself here today, it's just another day for me. It's just Tuesday, you know, or whatever day it is, Saturday or Sunday, or whatever the hell it is. You know, I'm from a little town in Vermont, 200 people, so this is a big city for me. And it's great to be here. And they told me it was going to be a rough room. Where are my Jacob Hornberger supporters? Come on, put your hands up. Let's go. There are more than that here. Come on. Let's hear it. You're the nicest bunch of Mother Jacobers I've ever met. Let me just tell you. And if you're for Jacob Hornberger and you like something I say here today, I would be honored to be your number 2. Now let me talk some shit about Mitch McConnell. And Brad, you can use this if you want to, okay? This is what Mitch McConnell has done to this country more than any other single one of your fellow citizens. Mitch McConnell is singularly responsible more than any other citizen for betraying the Constitution by collapsing the legislature into the executive branch. That is what he has done. He figured out before anybody else that if Congress, if the House and the Senate doesn't make any political decisions, if they delegate all of their authority to the executive, that it is easier for incumbents to get reelected. So you expect an institution to be selfish about protecting their authority, right? That's why we have the separation of powers. That's why Article 1, 2, 3 has the word herein. It puts these powers in a box, and those powers will never leave that box. But Mitch McConnell figured out that if he actually abdicates that authority and takes that box and hands it to the executive, whether it's a Democrat or Republican, that he will get elected and all of these incumbents will get reelected. And that is a structural problem in this country because we're down to one branch. And that is what Mitch McConnell has done to this country. So, eat his ass, Brad. Eat his ass. And I'm taking a hard run at getting this nomination. And if I am the nominee, I will come back here and I will endorse you as the nominee and help you get those votes. I pledge that to you right now, okay? Because I'm going to be here for the next 10 years. I'm all about building this party. I want LP to mean the little party that could. And I am not here to change minds. I'm here to change mindsets. Because one of the things I've noticed is if I get on stage and I talk about winning, about 1/3 of the people have cognitive dissonance. They're like, oh shit, don't talk about winning. Our comfort zone is 5%. We got relationships, we got our little friends, and we got our little debate society. And I'm like, bullshit to that. Every 4 years, take 10 minutes and be political. Okay, Jacob and I would throw Adam Kokesh in, we are making each other better candidates. We're not attacking each other. It is constructive friction. And when you see that, that is a sign that the little party that could is growing up. Okay, the fact that I'm here, okay, in my 20s, I've been an entrepreneur for 40 years. In my 20s, I dug a big hole. I violated the first rule of holes, which is when you're in a hole, stop digging, right? I violated that rule, so I had to spend my 30s digging out. I spent my 40s rebuilding. I spent my 50s kicking ass. And as a result of kicking ass, I can devote my 60s to help build this party. And let me talk about Jacob, and I'll talk about Florida. Jacob is a fucking lawyer, and I have a visceral response to lawyers, okay? I just got a law degree last month. I have 40,000 lawyers for subscribers. Well, a lawyer to me represents authority, and I hate authority. So I have a visceral response to lawyers, and it's primal, because 30 years ago, a bunch of lawyers got together, and they put me in a cage for 700 days for giving a tax return to the bank that wasn't quite what it appeared to be. Nobody lost any money. Nobody lost a dollar. The crime was infecting the files of the FDIC, so when the auditors come and they see a document that isn't quite what it appears to be, you can get up to 5 years in prison. Back in that day, say you could get up to 30 years in prison for that. So I represent myself at trial as a high school graduate because they appointed a lawyer for me. They didn't have a federal public defender's office in New Hampshire, so it was so small. What they did have in the federal building, down in the basement, they had a monkey, and they spin a wheel, and they give the monkey a peanut. And up comes a real estate lawyer named Jim Laughlin. We call him Leave Him Laughing. So I represented myself at trial, and then I got convicted on some things, and I had to go off to prison. And from the prison, as a high school graduate with a typewriter, I worked for 9 months on my appeal, and I got Stephen Breyer, who's now in the U.S. Supreme Court, to declare my term in prison unconstitutional, order my immediate release. I beat the Department of Justice like a rented mule 3 times. I talked IRS down from $1 million to $20,000, all on my own. I became a constitutional scholar, and today 40,000 lawyers, I sell the law to 40,000 lawyers. Can you believe that? And you know how I'm able to do that? Muhammad Ali, it's a rope-a-dope. I just take this face, which I'm going to just say should be carved into Mount Rushmore right now. Just go to the end, right? This is a president right here you're looking at. I take this face, I put it on my website called thelaw.net, and I just say, as a litigator, and they go, well, this guy's a fucking lawyer. And then they send me $500, and then angels sing every time a lawyer's credit card clears. And that's what happens. They go, no, just like that. It's a wonderful thing, and it happens every day. So God bless the lawyers, is all what I'm trying to say. So my thing is war, war, war. Those are my 3 issues. I was the only citizen to sue a president to end participation of U.S. armed forces in a foreign civil war, Whitney v. Obama. When Barack Obama bombed Libya and said it was a limited kinetic operation, right? So if you're bombing people that are too poor to shoot back, that's not war, it's a limited kinetic operation. I said bullshit to that, and I was the only citizen to stand up and sue that day. Just like I was the only citizen to stand up in Florida. Now, there's some rumors I've heard that some people think I don't believe in property rights, so that is bullshit. I was one of the first financial supporters of Glenn Greenwald when he left the law firm, when Bush and Cheney were torturing people. He left his job at a big law firm in New York, and he started writing about civil liberties. And when Ed Snowden was a property right fanatic, he's a Fourth Amendment fanatic, okay, he was the only American to stand up and defend your Fourth Amendment freedoms. And the story of that case is not that the NSA was stealing your shit. The story of that case is that Ed Snowden walked out of the NSA with their shit and they didn't know. That's the story of the case. That he embarrassed the deep state, right? And so he has to be in Russia because he has been indicted for the same sort of crime I was indicted for. There's no defense to it, like there was for me. The paper doesn't match, so I can't turn and say why or say they couldn't rely on it or anything. There's no defense. Snowden cannot turn to the jury and say, yes, but I took an oath to defend the Fourth Amendment. He's not allowed to do that. That's why he has to be in Russia. And he has said, I don't know how many times, that if they would allow him to turn to a jury and say, I was just trying to defend the Fourth Amendment like I took an oath to do, and I was the only one to do it out of the entire deep state, the jury would have quit it. And the government knows that, and that's why they won't relent. And that's why I didn't relent in Florida. I believe in property rights. I'm all about the Fourth Amendment. I'm fanatic about it. When Snowden did what he did, I wrote a show called The Education of Diane. Ed in education was Ed Snowden. Diane was Dianne Feinstein. She was on the Judicial Committee at the time. And I have a Dianne Feinstein joke. You want to hear it? I have a Dianne Feinstein joke. So 20 years ago, my family and I, we loaded up a truck. We moved from New England to California, right? We had a big Ryder truck. And we crossed the border from Arizona to California. And Dianne Feinstein's on the radio saying we need to have zero tolerance for spanking. And I'm like, great. one more government intrusion into my sex life, you know? There, that's my Dianne Feinstein material. I'm going all the way to the top of this material. So all the way to the Oval Office. So down in Florida, let me tell you exactly what happened in Florida. The day of the debate in Florida, where I set myself on fire, the people in charge of the debate, the debate committee, they contacted my campaign manager, Michael Pickens, and because I had called Jacob, my mother Jacob, in an interview, not on a debate stage, in an interview, because I had a name recognition problem. I go, I know, I'll fix that. I'll call St. Jacob, my mother Jacob, and because I just like to have a good time. I'm anti-authority, right? Remember me? I'm the guy who hates authority. So what happened is the people in Florida got all worried that they're going to do a live stream, and they said, my campaign manager, if Mark doesn't agree not to say bad words, they didn't say what, in their opinion, bad words were, but they said, if Mark doesn't agree not to say bad words, we're not going to do a live stream. So on behalf of all libertarians everywhere, I agreed not to say bad words. But goddamn, I'm going to protest, and that's what I did, and here's why. Okay, when cases get litigated, it's when you have a constitutional conflict. So Mother Jacob was of the position, just as a personal opinion, he said, well, this is great. He said in the debate, I think it's good because it helps protect the children. Okay, that's what he said. And then he came down on the side of private property rights, citing opinions written by Democratic and Republican judges. Okay, so if we were litigating, that would be his argument. My argument would be different. My argument would be that the Florida Libertarian Party, like the Kentucky Libertarian Party, like Whitney 2020 Inc., like Hornberger for President Inc., we are all 527 organizations, non-profit organizations. We don't pay taxes on the money we raise. Our organizations are subsidized by taxpayers for a single legal purpose. The single legal purpose is to elect or defeat candidates. That's what we're here to do. We do other things, but that's the legal reason we don't have to pay taxes on the money we raise. So my argument would be that, not that we're libertarians, my argument would be that your Ninth Amendment right to representation is on the table here, that this is a forum for a public purpose. A public forum is not your living room. It's the public forum, and all the speakers are presidential candidates, and that's why we want to resolve the conflict between property rights and your Ninth Amendment right to representation in favor of you, the people, the end users of the debate, so you can decide whether you like my language, whether you like my verbal, my nonverbal communication, whether you like whether I wear a boot on my head or not. The only boot I lick is the boot on Vernon Supreme's head, okay? That's it. I don't lick any other boots because I want to be the nominee, and this has nothing to do with libertarian principles, has nothing to do with the Bill of Rights, nothing to do with the Constitution. It has to do with the fact that I'm a pretty good stand-up comedian. If you haven't seen my show, Fool for a Client, you watch that show and you tell me you don't see your next president there, okay? You can go to markwhitney.com, click on Memoir. I'm the guy that lights shit up. I proved that in Florida. As I was doing it, I was praying to God none of my opponents stood up. Because as long as they stayed seated for the rest of this campaign, I can go out and say, one guy stood for liberty and everyone else sat and by implication embraced authority that night. I am a terrible politician, the worst politician in America. I will set myself on fire, and that's what you want in your first libertarian president, is a guy who's going to be a firewall for freedom. So when the mobsters from Congress come in and say, oh, Mr. President, you need to bomb this country that's never bombed us, I'll say, you mother Jacobers, get out of my office, right? So I'm the guy that's going to go on Kimmel, do a killer Type 5 stand-up, and America's going to go, look at that guy those libertarians nominated. We want to see that guy on the debate stage. You know what? Being on the debate stage, a third person generically polls 85%. If Austin shows the nation Mark Whitney the day after Austin, I'll be on all the late night shows. I'll be killing it, and all of America is going to want to see that show. More people, millions and millions of people are going to hear the message of peace and prosperity, and they're going to be cheering for the Libertarian Party to be represented on that debate stage. And when I get up there, I'm going to go, hey Donald, how you doing, baby? Yeah, you think you've been winning? I don't think so. You think you've been doing a lot of winning? Yeah. Well, you know, you've been borrowing $10,000 per household, Donnie debt. So why don't you explain that to the American people, your fraudulent economy? Your move, Donnie. You know what? Nobody else in this campaign can do that. And America wants to see that show. Give America what they want, and let's blow this shit up. Thank you very much for your time, folks.